Hello YouTubers, it is of course I, Trollface the Man, and welcome back to an interesting series I decided to start based on a whim, which is testing random at-home products or things to see their viability as a wood stain. Why? Well, mainly because I thought it would be a fun project for me, especially as I've been trying to expand my skill set, which includes woodworking, and I thought it may be interesting to document it for others' enjoyment. Also, cool things can sometimes be discovered by doing silly stuff like this. So first thing I did was have a friend help me cut up two boards, one of oak and the other of pine, to test the stains with. Why I decided on these two is because one tends to stain well and the other one not so much, so it is a good test group I feel. All the woods will be stained with various homemade stains either thought of myself or suggested by others. Feel free to suggest in the comments below if you have any, and if not already thought of or suggested, then you'll get a shout out for it in a video if used. I am excited to see how this all plays out. The wood will not be treated with any preconditioning, and the finish I use will be a water-based polyurethane unless otherwise specified, as 1, it doesn't change the color much, and 2, for most things I think it will be less likely to react with and cause problems. I'll link the poly or applicable products in the description below. Enjoy the video. Thank you. So all these pieces are actually marked on the back of them. So this one's 5. This one is 1. They've been cut. All the first 40 pieces that we have cut are actually from one single board, and the same thing goes with the pine. So this is 5 right here, and then this is 1 across here. So we can actually see across the entire series what each individual stain affects the same piece of wood, and be able to lay them out like this and just basically have a gander at how that turns out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take both of the ones here. We're going to start with cocoa powder. So I'm going to write, how's it, C-O-C-O-A, I believe. And C-O-C-O-A powder. And I'm going to do this for each individual one, just so that way I can keep track of what stains we've used on it. I'm just going to stain the top of this like plastic lid here with these sort of channels on the bottom to, let them dry and stuff. But as of right now, I'm going to take these two and I'm going to stain them with the cocoa powder, which this is 1/4 cup cocoa powder to 1 cup water. I boiled it a little bit to help extract the color, and it's not filtered, so it actually has the cocoa particulate in it. So we're going to see how that works out. Smells very chocolatey. Pretty dark brown color. Oop. So usually you just kind of want to put it on and then take it off pretty quickly. Use this other cloth, just kind of wipe that away. Not a huge amount of effect on the pine yet, except for on the sides here. Definitely can see fairly drastic effect on some of the grain in the oak though already. So I will be putting on multiple layers. I'm probably going to do 3 layers for each stain, just to give it the best chances possible to absorb in. Just try and put this on a little bit again. Get that a little bit more even on the sides. So once again, the very rough pine absorbs in very well, but the smooth sort of pine surface does not seem to want to take the stain super well. So this is after 1 application of the cocoa powder. You can actually see, even though if it doesn't look like it much initially, there has been quite a bit of color difference between the untreated pieces and the treated pieces. I have now some instant coffee. This is 1/4 cup instant coffee to 1 cup water. Just going to move these out of the way for right now. And then we're going to do the same thing with this. This is 2, 2, this is a mark. Does coffee have 1 E or 2 E's?
I think it's 2.
Just coffee? I don't know. Close enough. gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna take a little rag and saturate it with the instant coffee. Makes a whole lot of sense for me to have a glove in just one hand when I'm doing this, doesn't it? Instantly, a very stark color difference. Let's use one of these other rags to wipe off the excess. There's probably better ways to make these stains. Like you could totally potentially make solvents or something, make them with solvents, and in that case you'd be able to get them to permeate potentially better, like with the pine and stuff, because one of the things with pines is that they naturally have resins in them, which can make the staining not only difficult but sometimes fairly uneven. I'm seeing a very similar look to the cocoa powder, to be honest, on this. I'll have to see if there's notable difference between 3 coats. Even with the 1 coat, you can already see a distinct difference between the cocoa and the coffee on both of these. Now we're going to get into a more interesting one, which is pen ink. For that, my idea is I'm going to take a pen like this, I'm going to pull off the tip for it, and then I'm going to use a syringe with some alcohol in it and squirt it through there. I will be wearing safety glasses for that process because I don't want to get that into my eyes. I have no idea if it's going to work, but we are going to try it. Oh yeah, it's definitely working. Depending on how much we use up, I might actually have to make more later on. Or maybe it's just because this ink is so thick. I think that's actually the issue with this. So maybe if I chop this up into segments and I actually swish it around in here, it'll help wash out some of the ink in between the segments with the alcohol. I have no idea, I've never done this before, so this is a learning process for us all. That is dark. Definitely has a distinctive purple color. It will be interesting to see. I think because I do need a little bit more volume, I'm going to add a little bit more alcohol to this. Hopefully that will be enough. I mean, with how dark it is, it probably will definitely stain. Yeah. I think this will work as a stain. Interesting stain, but it definitely should work as a stain. Okay, I'm just going to agitate this a little bit longer, then we're going to try it out. Yeah, it's been pretty thoroughly agitated. I actually made a really small cloth because we have so little of it to try and conserve as much as we possibly can. So, yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's actually kind of a cool color, to be honest. Oh, I actually like that color a lot. Oh, that actually, Okay, I'm just gonna wipe it off. Doesn't stain the pine super good, but once again, pine, without conditioning, this is all unconditioned pine. So without conditioning, you can see that there's a lot of like, sort of erratic areas, but maybe after a couple of layers, the edges stain really good. Okay, let's try the oak. This will be interesting. High hopes for this one. That actually looks almost like what I would expect maybe if I bought a purple stain from like the store or something. The edges, especially where it's rough a little bit, stain really good. But yeah, that looks like a pretty decent stain, at least for the oak. We'll have to see after a couple more layers how it turns out. But yeah, that's already looking pretty interesting. What do you say, assistant?
I like it.
Alright, cool. First layer of the ink stain on the pine, untreated. First layer of the ink stain on the oak, untreated. Next we're going to move on to an interesting one, which who knows how well it's going to work, which is hot sauce. This is just a cayenne-based hot sauce, aged cayenne peppers, distilled vinegar, water, salt, and garlic powder. So, I have no idea if this is going to work at all, but that's what we're going to find out. Now I just need to make sure that I don't touch my eyes after doing this. I don't think this is going to stain particularly well, but we are definitely going to find out. I think it's going to have issues absorbing in. Then again, it definitely is absorbing into that oak grain a bit, giving it sort of a orangish red color to it. So that could be interesting. Yeah, we are definitely getting some result here. Alright, now for the pine. And just wiping it down. Gave a very subtle, like, warm color to the pine. Subtle what it is there. Interesting. And of course, like some red on the edges. Alright, so that is the first coat of hot sauce. Well, everyone knows what it's like getting grass stains on like your shirts and stuff like that, or your pants. What we're going to do is we're going to puree some of this grass with a little bit of water and hopefully get a stain out of it that we'll see how it will work on wood. Now I expect this to initially go on green and then to discolor over time, which is why with all of these I'm going to put it on and then wait a couple of days before I seal it with polyurethane, just that way we get an idea of how they're going to look over time.
That's definitely working. Pretty strong dye. At least it looks very strong.
Yeah, so it actually made a pretty strong dye. At least it looks pretty strong. So after the first application, I'm going to store it in the fridge, so that way it doesn't discolor, because I do expect this to brown over time. So let's see how this ends up working. Like I said, it is very distinctively dark green, typical. I'm going to move this out of here. Typical grass stain sort of green. So starting with the pine here. Definitely has a bit of a green color. That's not surprising in the least bit. Once again, like with what we notice with the pine a lot is that it stains really good on the sides, not so much on the face. The pine tends to have that natural resin that makes it not super great for staining. This is now the oak. So I expect there to be a pretty drastic color difference with this. For better or for worse, though, that is the real question here. So I don't know if you usually want your wood to look greenish colored. But then again, maybe if you're making some type of like staff or something, like for cosplay, and you want to maybe like a little, like the impression that the wood's a little bit green, that could be potentially an application for it, because I can see just the slightest bit of green inside of the grain here. But I once again expect this to brown over time. So that is now the first coat of the grass stain done. If we take some just raw pieces here and we take a look at them, untreated, no grass stain, untreated, no grass stain. So now that we got the first stain down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply 2 more coats after these have a chance to dry, so probably after a period of 4 hours, and then we'll come back and we'll look how the color looks after the 3 applications. Alright, so it has been a little bit more than a couple of months later, I will admit. I had waited a couple of weeks for the wood to fully dry before I used the water-based polyurethane on it, and I put on about 9 coats of the water-based to achieve a decent finish. It takes a lot more than the oil-based because of it being thinner and so forth in terms of the actual solids inside of it. And we have learned some interesting things. Now, one thing I want to point out first is this little spot here on this one is my bad. I sanded a little bit too deep in between the coats, so that is not the stain's fault, that is my fault. Otherwise it looks really good. But anyways, what's so interesting is this is the grass and this is the hot sauce. This is the grass, this is the hot sauce. Now if we look at this one right here, compared to the untreated wood, the grass versus untreated, you can see that it is definitely darker. Hot sauce versus untreated, it's darker in its own way. It actually has more of a greenish hue to it. Then we look at the pine. This is the pine grass versus the regular pine. Not a whole lot of difference, actually. Very close. Just the little color difference can be from the polyurethane, and then the hot sauce versus the untreated pine. And again, we have very close to the default. The hot sauce has lost pretty much all of its color, and the grass has just the ever so slightest bit of green color left to it. You can see, like, in the side of this right here. So, per expectation, the grass did end up losing its color, and the hot sauce lost its color. I'm not too surprised about it. I'm just surprised on how faint it had become. Both of them had become. And this, when I had sealed these, they still did have color. So it's not that sealing would have prevented the color loss. They still would lose their color regardless of me sealing sooner or not. So we have the cocoa powder. With the pine, it actually does darken it quite a bit and gives an interesting color. Same with the coffee here. Darkened it quite a bit. Gave an interesting color. Pen ink, kind of self-explanatory. It is purple and it's interesting. It also has a slight iridescence that will be kind of hard to show, but it is kind of a cool, interesting effect. I have a piece over here that is from a different unrelated project that I'll show on this, because this shows the effect really good at the right angle. The hot sauce, and then the grass. Now for the oak, we have the cocoa powder. Very beautiful on the oak, I have to say. I really like that on the oak. The coffee, again, on the oak is really, really nice. It has a really nice color to it, and it holds up. The pen ink, again, we have a really nice color and a slight, like, iridescence to it, a shimmering. Really nice color. I think that this will hold up very well. The hot sauce, it's gotten a slight greenish hue to it, and brown slightly. Not too crazy impressive. And then the grass, again, we have a very ever so slight greenish hue, but again, not too impressive. So out of the 5 pieces we've tested here, I say cocoa powder, coffee, pen ink are all thumbs up in terms of a decent stain. The hot sauce and the grass, not so much. So yeah, I mean, I consider this definitely a success. If there's anything from this, I've learned a couple of potential viable stains. I've also gotten some experience with polyurethane, the water-based polyurethane, and doing little sample segments like this that I can reference later on. And overall, I think that this was pretty fun to do. So I do plan to do some more here very shortly from now. You can see a little bit of that sort of iridescence that I was talking about. I do plan to do some more pretty soon from now. I hope to have the next episode up within the next 2 weeks. So stay subscribe if you haven't already, if you want to see that. Otherwise, please remember to hit that like button, to subscribe, and to leave a comment if you have any suggestions or anything like that. Also, I will link some products used in the description below if you're interested in buying anything along those lines, you know, polyurethanes, things like that. And yeah, thank you guys very much for watching, and bye. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, this is the sides of the wood for reference. What's interesting is you can actually see a lot of green retained in the grain for the pine and a little bit for the oak, but other than that, faces almost nothing. So yeah.